Welcome to the BVTV network, coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. We're recognising National Conscious Month, and this is episode 2 in the Your Conscience duology with author Leonard Perlmutter. Hello again, Leonard.
Hello, Malcolm.
I do so much enjoy talking to you because you've got a truly wonderful, calming voice, and your thoughts are brilliant. Leonard, I know recently, though, I lost purpose and momentum when a massive storm here in northern England impacted us personally and horrendously. And I know of other times this past year of 2021 when I've also lost direction through health or other situations, such as the loss of my mate of 14 years, our dog Harvey. So what I'm really wanting to ask you is, and I truly applaud your thinking and proposals in the book, given that we are only human and facing such extraordinary and uncertain times, how should someone keep the focus of his or her conscience, as you propose, and not be distracted? Or can distraction be managed?
Distractions, like everything else in life, are not problems. They are means. They're means to our own health, happiness, and security. So the problem is not the distraction. The problem is what we think about the distraction.
Right.
And so we need to experiment with coordinating the ego, the senses, and the unconscious mind, because those are our advisors that suggest to us what we should think about a distraction. And yet, when we have the support of our conscience, we do understand that this problematic thinking is really about desire. It's the desires that we have, that the mind has, that the ego has. You know, the ego wants to change the channel, always wants to create a distraction. That's why on the telly that we have thousands and thousands of channels. When I was a child, we had 3 channels. And so we have to recognize that desires are neither good nor bad. They're simply the fuel for action. And what does that mean? Desires are energy. And what do we know about energy? Energy can be transformed. Can't create it, can't destroy it, but it can be transformed. And that's what we need to do in the midst of distractions that the conscience says need to be transformed into a better state of energy, a higher state of energy that will help us in our quest for happiness and health and security. So if we experience, we begin to develop real freedom, the freedom of choice. We don't have to live our life as reactionaries. If a surprising distraction comes, we're not obligated to think that it's a problem. We can find the benefit and the gift in it if we are willing to experiment. But some people are not willing to experiment. They don't know how to experiment. But you and I have been talking about how to experiment, and it's really easy. But there was a man who was gaining quite a bit of weight, and he was thinking he ought to talk to his friend to see if his friend had any advice on how he could lose the weight. So he chatted with his friend, and it turned out the man, every time he walked to work, he passed by a bakery.
Right.
And the first thing he noticed before he even came to the bakery was the wonderful smell that was emanating from that shop. And the next thing that he knew, he was carrying a bag of donuts along with him to work. And so he asked his friend, "Do you have any suggestions to me?" He said, "Well, on those days when you walk to work, why don't you leave your wallet at home?" Oh, the man was very upset. So he recoiled And he looked in a very displeased way at his friend. He says, "Are you telling me you want me to steal the donuts?"
Oh, no.
That was the only other option that he had in his mind. He could not experiment with maybe giving up one cookie or one donut, or maybe not even one donut, maybe a half of a donut, or experiment with just a quarter of a donut. Give up just a quarter of a donut and see if you don't feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Before we go, I want to ask you a little question. I am trying to learn to cook. I should have been doing it many years earlier, but I always go for the recipe that says easy, because I'm not that good at it, really. And I avoid the ones that says a little more difficult. If I ask you about your book and people adopting what's in the book, and I know, but I'd like your thoughts, people. Should they be looking at it as easy to do or a little bit more difficult?
As easy as possible is the answer. As easy as possible. I know that when I began to lift weights, and I had no experience lifting weights, I did not start with 100 pounds or 200 pounds. With no experience and very little muscle, that would have caused me major problems. So I started with just a couple of pounds. And that worked out pretty well for several weeks. And after several weeks, I added a couple more pounds. And that was easy too, relative to the muscle that I was building. So if it's easy, it will be right. And in order to be right, it has to be easy. And so it really engenders self-love. Are we going to be kind to ourselves? As kind as we are to other people when they are in a situation? I'm thinking that it would be good if we could love ourselves. And food is a tremendously beneficial experiment. I tell people today, I no longer eat food that I loved when I was 14. No, I eat food that loves me today, that loves my eyes and my brain and my pancreas and my kidneys and my liver. And I love that food now.
Yes, excellent. Thanks, Leonard. Now, let's give viewers and listeners details of your URL, which obviously, viewers, you can see on the screen behind me, but for viewers, let me read it all out to you. It's all the W's, American meditation.org. Leonard's book, and this is my personal copy signed by him, is called Your Conscience, the Key to Unlock Limitless Wisdom and Creativity and Solve All of Life's Challenges. And it's published by AMI Publishers. Leonard, thanks for taking the time from your busy schedule to help us deliver this national conscience message to BVTV viewers and listeners all around the world.
My pleasure. Thank you.